Welcome to Pillow Talk Dreams, where every night becomes a story and every story leads you to peace.
Before you close your eyes tonight, take a deep breath and let the world grow quiet around you. You're about to travel to a place beyond time where two hearts meet under twin moons, where love shines brighter than the stars themselves. This is not just a story, it's a dream woven in moonlight, a tale of souls who found each other even when destiny tried to keep them apart. So settle in, let your heart slow down, your mind drift free, and your imagination open wide. As you listen, remember, some love stories are not meant to end, they live forever in the whispers of the night. Welcome to Eternal Moons, a tale of star-crossed souls. If you enjoy stories that touch your heart and calm your mind, don't forget to subscribe and join our world of dreams. Now close your eyes and let the story begin.
The meeting beneath the moons far beyond the lands known to humankind, there floated a realm made of mist and moonlight, Lunara, a city suspended among the stars. Its bridges were woven from silver clouds, and its towers shimmered with quiet light from twin moons that never slept. The people of Lunara lived gently, speaking in soft tones, moving slowly as though afraid to wake the stars above them. But beneath the still beauty old divisions simmered, two ancient families, the House of Oriel and the House of Thorn, had been at silent war for generations. They never fought with swords anymore. Instead, their war was of whispers, trade, influence, and secrets. Yet the hatred was old and deep, like roots twisting in the dark. And it was in this world of floating gardens and golden mist that Lyra Oriel and Cale Thorn first met, under the light of the twin moons, when the wind was soft and the night was almost too quiet to be real. Cherry Blossom, the festival of moons once every 10 years, Lunara celebrated the festival of moons, a night when both moons aligned perfectly in the sky. On that night, the air shimmered like liquid silver, and the people believed that any wish made beneath the aligned moons would touch the heavens. Lyra Oriel had never missed a festival. She loved wandering through the glowing streets, her pale blue cloak brushing the misted ground, her long hair catching the light like silk spun from starlight. Though she was the only daughter of the Oriel family, proud, noble, distant, she hated the cold formality of her life. She wanted to feel alive, to dream, to breathe beyond the walls of her silver house. As she walked through the festival, lanterns drifted above her head, floating lights shaped like moons, carrying the whispered hopes of the people. Music danced in the air, soft and slow, like a lullaby written by the stars themselves. And then she saw him. Milky Way the stranger in the shadows, he stood apart from the crowd, near the edge of the glowing lake, a quiet figure in a dark coat, his head tilted toward the moons. His eyes caught the light in a way that made her pause. There was something in his stillness, a sadness, or perhaps a longing that drew her closer before she could stop herself. "Beautiful night," she said softly, her voice nearly lost to the wind. He turned. His eyes were a deep storm gray, the kind that hid stories beneath calm waves. "It is," he replied, "the kind of night that makes you forget the world exists." Lyra smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why I love it." For a moment, silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable but gentle, like the pause between heartbeats. He bowed slightly. "Cale," he said, Lyra, she replied. The names hung in the air like a secret, two notes of a melody never meant to be heard together. Shooting star whispers of fate they spoke softly, their words carried away by the mist. He told her about the gardens beyond the city walls, where he often went to watch the moons reflect on still water. She told him about her dreams of seeing the lower world, the lands beneath the clouds where humans still lived among forests and rain. Neither of them mentioned their families. Perhaps they both knew somehow that their names were not meant to meet. As the night deepened, the music faded. A hush spread through Lunara as the twin moons began to align perfectly above the lake. The people knelt, whispering their wishes to the sky. Lyra closed her eyes, her heart racing, and without knowing why she wished, "Let me see him again." When she opened her eyes, Kale was still there, watching her quietly. "Did you make your wish?" he asked. "Yes," she said softly. "Did you?" He smiled, faint, mysterious. "Maybe I did." And then, as the light of the aligned moons shimmered over them, their shadows touched, long and intertwined on the silver ground. For that one heartbeat, it was as if the stars themselves had breathed them into being for each other. Crescent moon, the return of morning when the dawn came, Lunara's golden mist turned pale and warm. Lyra returned home through quiet streets, her steps light as though she were walking in a dream. But in the courtyard of her silver home, she found her father waiting, Lord Oriel, tall and stern, his silver hair bound with crystal cords. "You went to the festival?" he asked, though it was not really a question. "Yes, father." His eyes narrowed. "You spoke to someone?" Lyra's heart faltered. "Just people from the festival." He turned away, his cloak whispering against the marble floor. "The House of Thorn was there. Do not speak with them ever. Their name is poison to ours." Lyra said nothing. She bowed her head, but inside her heart whispered against his words, a small rebellion made of moonlight and longing. The Garden of Reflections that night she went again, alone, silent, through the misted corridors and down the crystal stairs that led to the edge of the floating lake. And he was there, waiting. "I thought you wouldn't come," he said softly. "I thought I shouldn't," she whispered back. Kale smiled gently. "Then why did you?" Lyra looked at the water, where their reflections shimmered together like two stars caught in the same dream. "Because I couldn't sleep without knowing if you were real." For a long while neither spoke. The wind moved through the glowing reeds, the moon shimmered above, and the city slept beyond their silence. Then quietly, Kale reached out, not to touch her, but to let his hand rest near hers, close enough that the warmth between them was enough. "Lyra," he said softly, "our world is full of walls. Maybe this is the only place without one." She looked at him, her eyes soft as dusk. "Then let's stay here a while." And they did, two souls beneath twin moons, unaware that destiny was already writing their names in light and sorrow. The days that followed their first meeting passed like soft whispers. In Lunara, time was gentle, sunlight came like melted gold, and nights arrived like music. But for Lyra and Kale, each passing moment felt alive, new, and trembling with something unspoken. They met again and again, always in secret, always by the lake beneath the twin moons. Cherry blossomed the hidden garden beyond the shimmering streets and moonlit towers of Lunara. There lay a forgotten garden, a place no one visited anymore. It floated at the city's edge, where the mist grew thick and the sound of the world seemed to fade. Cale had found it years ago when he wanted to escape the weight of his name, Thorn. It had once been a garden of peace, but now only a few silver blossoms remained, their petals glowing faintly under moonlight. That was where he brought Lyra. "This place," he said softly, "has no name. No one from the houses comes here anymore." She knelt by one of the glowing flowers, brushing her fingers against its petals. "Then let's name it," she said. He tilted his head. "What would you call it?" She smiled faintly. "The Garden of Whispers, because even silence here feels like it's telling a story." Cale looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in years, he felt something stir inside him that wasn't fear or anger. "You make even quiet things sound alive," he murmured. Lyra's cheeks warmed. "And you make me forget where I am." They both laughed softly, the sound so small and tender that the stars themselves seemed to pause to listen. Milky Way, the secret they carried weeks past in the rhythm of dreams. Lyra's days were filled with duties, meetings, lessons, the cold politeness of her noble home. But her nights belonged to the moons, to the garden, and to Cale. He told her about his past, how his mother had died in a quiet rebellion, trying to bring peace between the two houses. How his father, Lord Thorn, had forbidden him ever to speak of forgiveness. "My family believes strength comes from silence," Cale said one night. "But silence kills the soul." Lyra reached for his hand, her touch gentle as the mist. "Then speak here where the stars can listen." And he did. He told her everything about the darkness, the expectations, the fear of never being free of the name Thorn. She listened with her eyes closed, her head resting against his shoulder. "You're not your name," she whispered. "You're the boy who found a garden no one remembered." Crescent moon the suspicion, but peace never lasts in a world that feeds on secrets. One evening, as Lyra returned home from the garden, she found her maid waiting, nervous, trembling. "My lady," the maid whispered, "there have been questions. The guards saw you walking by the misted bridges at night." Lyra froze. "Who asked?" "Your cousin, Lord Cale Oriel. He said the Thorn heir has been seen near the same path." Lyra's breath caught. Her cousin Cale, fierce, loyal, and cruel, had always hated the Thorn family with quiet fire. That night she stood at her window, watching the silver clouds drift by, her heart caught between love and fear. If they were discovered, her father would send her away. Cale's father might do worse. And yet, when the moons rose, she couldn't stay. Her heart knew the way through the mist even if her mind begged her not to go. Shooting star, the promise he was waiting as always. The moment she stepped into the garden, his eyes softened, the kind of look that feels like coming home. "Lyra," he said quietly, "you shouldn't be here tonight." She smiled, trying to be brave. "Then why are you?" He looked down, unable to answer. They stood there for a long time, the silence wrapping around them like a fragile dream. Then Lyra stepped closer, her voice low. "If we must hide," she said, "then let's at least promise one thing, that no matter what happens, we'll find each other when the moons align again." Cale looked up sharply. "That's 10 years from now." "Then I'll wait," she said, "even if the stars fade." His throat tightened. He reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek. Lyra, he whispered, you speak like the night soft and endless. And you, she said, are the silence I've always wanted to hear. He kissed her then, slowly, gently, as if afraid she might disappear like mist. It was not a kiss of fire, but of light, calm, eternal, filled with the ache of something too beautiful to last. Shadows over Lunara, but love is never invisible forever. One night as Kale left the garden, a figure stepped out from the shadows, Kale Oriole, Lyra's cousin. His hand gripped a silver blade, though it trembled slightly. So it's true, Kale hissed. A thorn with an oriole. You shame her name. Kale stepped back, calm but wary. You don't understand. I understand enough, Kale snapped. You think you can end this feud with love. You think the houses will forgive. I don't need their forgiveness, Kale said. Only hers. Kale's jaw tightened. Then you'll have nothing. And before Kale could move, Kale struck not to kill but to warn. The blade grazed Kale's arm, a streak of silver blood glowing faintly under moonlight. Kale didn't fight back. He simply stood, holding his wound, his eyes filled with sorrow. One day, he said softly, this hatred will drown you. Then he vanished into the mist. Kale watched him go, his breath heavy. For a moment, he felt the faintest sting of regret, but it passed like wind through broken glass. Milky Way, the night of choices, Lyra found Kale later, his arm wrapped in glowing bandages of light leaf. What happened? She whispered, tears already rising. Your cousin, he said simply. He knows. Lyra's hand shook. We can run, she said suddenly. There's a world below the clouds. We can go there, away from the houses, away from this. Kale's eyes softened. Do you really believe the world will let us escape? I don't care, she said fiercely. I only care that we try. For the first time, Kale smiled, not the quiet, haunted smile she knew, but something lighter, freer. Then we'll go, he said. Tomorrow night, when the moons rise high. Crescent moon, the escape plan. They met one last time in the Garden of Whispers, hearts trembling with both hope and fear. The path to the lower world lay beyond the edge of Lunara, where the floating bridges faded into mist. Few ever went there. It was said that crossing down was like stepping out of heaven itself. But they didn't care. Love had already made them braver than the stars. As they prepared to leave, Lyra turned to him. Do you think the moons will watch over us? Kale looked up. If they've watched this long, he said softly, then they'll follow us wherever we go. They clasped hands, their fingers glowing faintly with the light of the moons, two souls bound not by fate but by choice. And as they stepped into the mist, the stars trembled, for love in a city built of silver and sorrow was about to defy the sky itself. The night of their escape was silent. No wind, no whispers, only the sound of the moon's breathing silver light over Lunara's floating bridges. Lyra stood cloaked in starlight, her hood drawn low. The air felt heavy, not with fear, but with the strange calm that comes when a dream becomes real. Beside her, Kale tightened the strap on his travel satchel. His injured arm still glowed faintly beneath the bandages of Lightleaf, but his eyes were steady. Once we pass the edge, he said quietly, there's no coming back. Lyra looked toward the horizon where the clouds turned to endless mist. Then we walk forward, she whispered. Together. Fog the edge of the world, the bridges of Lunara ended in nothing, thin paths of crystal that simply dissolved into light. Beyond them the air shimmered with strange colors, a gateway between the city of moons and the unseen world below. Kale took Lyra's hand. "You're sure you want this?" She nodded. "I was sure the first night I saw you." Then, without another word, they stepped off the last bridge into the mist. The descent was not falling. It was floating, soft, endless, weightless. The clouds curled around them like silk, whispering voices from forgotten dreams. Lyra could feel her heart racing and slowing all at once. "It's like the air is alive," she murmured. "It is," Kale said. "We're crossing the veil, few ever survive it." "But we will," she whispered, "because love isn't meant to die in the sky." And then, just as her breath began to fade, light burst around them, warm, golden, real. They landed softly on dew-covered earth. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt grass beneath her feet. The scent of rain, the hum of insects, the sound of a living world, the one she had only seen in books. Tears filled her eyes. "It's beautiful," Kale smiled faintly. "Welcome to the world below." The forgotten lands, the world beneath the clouds, was nothing like Lunara. Here, everything was raw and real, mountains carved from stone, rivers that shimmered like melted glass, forests that breathed mist. They found shelter in an old ruin, once a temple, now claimed by vines and wildflowers. For days, they lived quietly, surviving on fruit and spring water, learning how to live as mortals do. At night, Lyra would gaze at the faint glow of Lunara far above them, a silver shimmer among the stars. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked softly. "Sometimes," Kale said. "But when I look at you, I remember why we left." Dizzy, the dream of mortals' life below was not without beauty. They learned to build a fire, to listen to the rain, to laugh without fear of being heard. One night, under a sky filled with drifting fireflies, Lyra asked, "Do you think the moons can still see us?" Kale looked up, smiling. "If they can, they're jealous." Lyra laughed, a sound like wind through glass. "Jealous of what?" "Of two mortals who found freedom." He reached for her hand, tracing the lines of her fingers. "I used to think the stars decided everything, but maybe they only light the path. We still choose where to walk." She rested her head on his shoulder. "Then let's choose forever." Crescent moon, the omen, but love, even when pure, does not go unnoticed by fate. One dawn, as they gathered water by the stream, the air shimmered strangely. A figure stepped out of the mist, cloaked in feathers of silver and gold, her eyes glowing faintly with moonlight. Lyra froze. "Who are you?" The woman's voice was soft, echoing like water in a well. "I am Celara, keeper of the moons. You have left your world without permission." Kale moved protectively in front of Lyra. "We sought peace, not rebellion." Celara tilted her head. "Peace cannot exist without balance. The heavens have lost two souls of light. The moons dim each night you remain below." Lyra's heart tightened. "Are you saying the moons are dying?" "Yes," said Celara. "Love has its cost. If you stay here, the balance will fade, but if you return, your love will be erased." The words hung in the air like frost. Kale's hands clenched. "There must be another way." Celara's eyes softened with ancient sorrow. "Every story of the stars must end in sacrifice. You cannot hold both freedom and eternity." Then, as gently as she came, Celara dissolved into mist, leaving behind only silence and the echo of choice. Milky Way, the weight of choice. For hours they said nothing. The world around them felt heavier, quieter, even the birds seemed to sing softer. Finally, Lyra spoke. If we return, we lose each other. If we stay, we destroy the moons. Kale looked down at his hands. Then the world ends because we loved. Lyra touched his cheek. Then maybe the world needs to learn what love truly is. He turned to her, eyes filled with pain and tenderness. You would let the heavens fade for me? I would let them fade for us, she said, because I've seen the stars, but I've never felt alive until I touched your hand. He pulled her close, holding her as if trying to memorize every heartbeat. If love is the sin that breaks the sky, he whispered, then let the sky forgive us later. Crescent moon the golden night that night, the moons above the clouds burned faintly gold, a sign of imbalance. But for Lyra and Kale, it was the most beautiful sight they had ever seen. They danced beneath the fading light, slow and weightless, surrounded by fireflies. Their laughter mingled with the wind. Their hearts spoke where words could not. And when the night grew quiet, they lay beneath the stars, neither gods nor nobles, just two souls who had finally found peace, even if the world trembled around them. New moon the warning far above, in the shining city of Lunara, Lord Oriel and Lord Thorn met under dire news. The twin moons were fading. Their light dimmed a little more each night. The floating city began to lose its balance, bridges cracking, towers leaning. And in the silence between them, both lords felt something neither had felt before: fear. We have lost them, Lord Oriel whispered. Our children and our world. The days that followed were wrapped in silence. In the world below, the skies dimmed a little more each evening. The twin moons, once bright silver, now glowed pale and tired, as if the heavens themselves were losing breath. Lyra and Kale watched from the mountain ridge, their hands entwined, hearts heavy. It's happening, Lyra whispered. Selara was right. The moons are fading. Kale's gaze followed the pale arcs of light above them. And soon Lunara will fall. Lyra closed her eyes. Then we can't just stay here, we have to do something. Kale's voice broke softly. But if we return, we lose what we are, we lose us. For a long while they said nothing. The wind carried only the sound of their quiet breathing and the distant hum of the dying sky. Then Lyra lifted her head, tears trembling in her eyes. Maybe love isn't meant to last forever. Maybe it's meant to teach the world how to feel, even if it ends. Kale looked at her as if seeing her for the first time all over again, the courage in her sadness, the strength in her gentleness. If we must fade, he whispered, then let's fade saving the light that once brought us together. Fog the journey home, they left the valley that night, climbing back toward the veil, the border between earth and sky. The mist shimmered faintly, opening like a curtain for them one last time. The ascent was harder than their fall. The air burned cold, heavy with the weight of heaven. But Lyra's hand never left Kale's, and each step they took was guided by the faint pull of moonlight still left in their hearts. When they reached the edge, the clouds parted, and Lunara appeared above them. The once radiant city now floated unevenly, pieces of silver drifting away like broken glass. Its light was dim, its towers cracked, its people wandering in fear. Lyra's breath caught. Our home, Kale's eyes filled with sorrow. We did this. No, she whispered. We loved. The world just never learned how to understand love. Crescent mooned the return as they stepped onto the trembling bridges of Lunara. The air shimmered with whispers of voices from the past, the sound of the moons crying. Solara appeared again, her eyes glowing faintly. "You returned," Lyra nodded. "We couldn't let the heavens die because of us." Solara looked at them with something like pity. "You know what it means, then," Kale's voice was steady. "That our memories will fade, that we will forget each other." Solara lowered her head. "The balance must return. The moons cannot carry love born of defiance." Lyra stepped closer. "Then take our memories, but not our hearts. Let the world remember what we did, that love can heal even what hate has broken." Solara's eyes softened. "You speak like the light itself." She raised her hands, and silver light surrounded them. Dizzy the sacrifice, the light was gentle, warm, soft, endless. Lyra felt it seep through her like water through sand. Memories flickered before her eyes, their first meeting beneath the moons, the garden of whispers, the flight through the mist, their laughter beneath the fireflies. Each moment shimmered, then dissolved into starlight. Kale reached for her hand even as the light grew blinding. "If I forget your face," he whispered, "may my soul still remember your touch." Tears glistened on Lyra's cheeks. "If I forget your voice, may my heart still beat to its rhythm." And then the light claimed them both. The moons brightened slowly, softly, as though exhaling for the first time in centuries. Lunara steadied. The towers straightened. The air filled with light again. But in the heart of the city, two figures lay beneath a rain of silver petals, sleeping peacefully, their hands still faintly intertwined. Milky Way, the dawn of balance. When the people of Lunara awoke, they found the city whole again, shining brighter than ever before. The feud between the houses of Oriel and Thorn ended without reason or memory. No one remembered why it had begun, only that peace now felt natural, like a truth finally uncovered. Lord Oriel and Lord Thorn stood side by side for the first time, staring at the restored moons. "Strange," Lord Thorn murmured. "It feels as though we've been forgiven." "By whom?" asked Lord Oriel. He didn't know. Neither did anyone. But somewhere deep within the city, in the overgrown garden of whispers, two silver flowers bloomed side by side, one pale blue, one dark gray. They glowed brighter than all the others. Crescent moon, the eternal memory, 1,000 years past. Lunara remained a city of peace and light. Lovers would visit the Garden of Whispers and make their wishes beneath the twin moons. And though no one remembered the names Lyra or Kale, their souls lived quietly in the night, in every moonbeam that touched the silver lake, in every soft wind that whispered through the mist. Some nights when the moons aligned perfectly, people swore they saw two figures walking hand in hand by the glowing water, shadows of light, smiling at each other as if no time had passed. They say the moons never forgot them, because love, even when erased, leaves a trace, a warmth in the wind, a shimmer in the stars, and a promise whispered softly to the dreaming world. Love is not meant to last forever. It is meant to teach forever how to love.
And as the moons fade softly into the quiet night, the story of Lyra and Kale comes to rest, not with sorrow, but with peace. Their love became light, their dreams became stars, and their memory lives on in the stillness of the night sky. Tonight, as you drift into your own dreams, may your heart feel light, your thoughts calm, and your soul wrapped in gentle peace. Remember, Every ending is just another beginning waiting in the stars. Love never disappears. It simply changes its shape, shining quietly in moments like this one. Thank you for sharing this journey with me tonight. I hope this story touched your heart and helped you find a little calm in your world. If you felt the magic of this tale, don't forget to subscribe and stay with us for more peaceful stories under the same moonlight. Until we meet again, may your dreams be kind, your heart be gentle, and your night beautifully calm. Good night, dreamer. Sleep well under the eternal moons.